Oh, yeah, it's really interesting. I've got meetings with them up on at the end of the month. Hi, Angela, is this a sound check? Can you hear us all right?
I can, thank you.
Excellent. Fabulous. Okay, wait, I'm discombobulated. I am in land use.
Correct, you are.
I'm taking notes. Okay, because I just wrote notes, and Jody's like, that looks like stuff for land use, not public works. I was like, no, I copied it off of my public works notes.
Well, welcome to Land Use and Planning, February 10th, 2025. Okay, started off, review of the January 28th, 2025 minutes that Sandy wrote. Way
Yeah.
back.
After I realized, like, I'm not writing them. Yep, got it now.
Yep, got it. Did you have a chance to look them over?
Doing it now. Oh, look, there they are. Yep.
Do they look like yours?
Oh, mine was like 3 pages long. No, I'm just kidding. They look great. Perfect. Yep, go for it.
Would you like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to pass the minutes from January 28th, 2025.
Perfect. Motion passes. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna pause that because I have been catching up on all sorts of stuff.
Still trying.
All right, so Resolution 3681, reviewing zoning of city-owned land, Brewery Hill parcel, scheduled for action at tomorrow's meeting. And that was in the agenda packet. We had a chance to look it over.
I'm looking at it now. 3681.
Yeah, so it got a number.
Yeah,
So
mine has a number.
that's the one that has the requested change in it,
Okay, hang on. I'm at
that basically
79.
say they can review it as separate parcels.
Right.
Did I understand the assignment? So this is the Brewery Hill, and it was all one piece of land?
Yes, and we're,
And council wanted to say, tell us what to do with it, even if we have to subdivide it to get to
okay,
that.
so this is, the city's committed to ensuring the zoning designations, regulations, okay, where property has been identified. So property 1, located, okay.
Now, I pulled it off the cadastro,
Hmm.
and it looks, well, it looks the same as what you've got. So this doesn't have any relationship to the new zoning for the airport, correct?
Correct.
Or the
So,
new,
so the
certificate.
picture that went on it
Yeah,
is basically showing the parcel as it exists right now.
Yeah,
The difference per request from council is if you go to the therefores,
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, I just lost it. There we go. Oh,
and
there's quite a bit about,
basically number 3 is new. The planning board shall consider the parcel for zoning designations in both its entirety, as well as consider multiple zoning designations that may require future divisions, boundary line relocation, or other means to modify the boundary of the parcel. So in other words, part of that is the Brewery Hill parcel that we've talked about is the possibility for housing. The other part of it is across the street and actually within the airport, and it may be like
Breaking those
commercial
two
or
up.
light
Yeah.
industrial or something.
okay.
So they may not be the same use and purposes.
Yeah, and I think that's smart to look at.
And that was the request of council to
Yep.
put that in.
Yeah,
So that's basically
switch
what's
it.
new is number 3.
Okay.
Okay. So is there any other questions, thoughts, concerns that we have with this resolution, or we like how it's written now and feel good about that being up for action tomorrow? And again, this is just to review it, to look into it, not to necessarily do anything with it.
Okay, so number 2, let's go through all those.
Yep.
Consistency with the city's growth policy and other compatible surrounding land use, potential impacts on infrastructure, traffic, and the environment, opportunities for economic development and housing needs, and feedback for property owners and the public. Okay, yeah, no,
and then 3 was new,
3 was new, and that's the whole,
Yep.
consider the parcel for zoning
4
designation.
and 5 were unchanged.
No, 6,
And then ultimately, it's gonna come back to, because it's zoning, it comes back to city council
after.
Yeah.
for action.
And realistically, if I recall correctly, this is actually going to be a conversation that happens during the zoning conversations after growth policy goes down.
After growth and downtown master plan and then the zoning. So this is one of the
Yeah.
zoning things.
Yep.
Subpart C, got it.
No, I have no issue with making that recommendation and that push, because I think that it is absolutely worthwhile and checking on. And in terms of any potential developments that would be happening up there, if I remember correctly from the meeting with the foundation workforce housing meeting back in January. Was that January?
January or last year?
This January.
Wasn't that long ago then?
Yeah,
If
no, it
this-
was only a couple
if
weeks
this-
ago.
If this were done, we'd be having conversations on it right now.
Gotcha.
So when you, if, I didn't let you finish your sentence, but you say, if I remember of it, it's like, this isn't happening this build, or this is, or what, you know.
Right,
this
that
isn't
was the
realistic.
conversation. It's not so much, is it realistic? Is it realistic in the next 3 months? And is there more of a push to try and look into this further versus waiting till it's appropriate
Right.
and doing it right?
The feedback from planning board, which I don't disagree with, was these conversations ought not, and it had to do with more the one by the bowling alley than this one.
Sure.
This is an objective to say, what is the highest and best use of the land?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right term? You're the realtor, not me.
That is.
Yeah.
So is this the highest and best use of the land? And kind of from a city-wide building
Right.
and stuff, does it make sense? And I think that it does.
Oh, for sure.
But that conversation needs to take place, we need to have it. And then,
Right.
and I think that there will be options that open up to us as we do that.
And more so, what I was leaning into is it something that we should be pushing harder on, or is it something that we would rather do right? And specifically taking the time, doing the research as stated in here. Because, I mean, looking at impact studies, all of that, just knowing how the speed of government works, I would much rather, again, have this in place, so then when we start moving forward with zoning conversations after we have a growth policy,
This is
then
really
we
good.
have the ability to really look at what we need to look at
Mhm.
and take the time to do it correctly.
Yeah, and I would like this to be prioritized, so as we
Yeah.
start into all of that zoning stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I think the ones that we've highlighted, I
Yep.
would like to occur first, because I think
yeah.
they're, yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to have these bits and pieces in places so we can be pursuing what's next with them.
Perfect. That was kind of what I was looking for, is timeline and priority levels, just because I think that's important. And again, I also think it's important not to rush something like this.
Right.
So, especially because we definitely should make it a priority, because if we do split it, that will take
That's
time.
gonna take a minute,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree.
Okay.
And how it plays in with everything else, I
And so my goal, to kind of follow on your question, I would love to have this all done by the end of, I would like going in, their cycle is generally like a January submission or
Oh, okay,
like
yeah.
February, March sort of a thing.
Mhm.
So I'd like to have this done in time that there's 3, 4, 5 months for them
Perfect.
to know what the ground rules are, what the
Okay,
things
Yep.
are, and then do that.
So by fall.
Yeah.
September, October timeframe?
So I was thinking September, August, but
Can I add a no later then? Because like I said, if you could make it happen yesterday, I'd take that.
you can add a no later then. I'm not gonna promise it.
No. But it's more important that we do it right,
Yeah.
and by that is, part of that is that the community needs to understand and agree
Yeah.
that's what we're doing, and that's.
Yep.
Right, but if you put the timeline, it'll also keep it in the forefront and keep us
Yeah,
plugging away with it, so I agree.
yep, okay.
And then this is only slightly related. I got back the request from Brian, and I've only got one copy on me right now, I apologize. So that, you've seen where that land actually
Mhm.
covers this, but it includes this right here.
Yep.
So this includes this, what?
This and that and this.
So this is kind of coming back to a conversation about the
Oh, yeah,
airport
yeah.
as well.
Mhm.
So this is the piece that we're interested in, but all of this is the piece of the land, which means all of it is part of the conversation.
Yes.
This yellow line right now, and this doesn't have the old existing jagged airport thing, which is kind of a zoning thing, but this is the boundary that I'm kind of working with to
Mhm.
say,
Fence.
if it's within this area,
Mhm.
the airport board gets to comment and tell us,
Provide their feedback.
we seek their guidance to get into
See
it.
how these go together here.
Let me flip this
There
around
you
so
go,
that it
flip it like
matches
that.
your picture.
And then you're
So
looking at.
this is that,
Mhm.
but that comes across and includes
Right.
this part of the,
Mhm.
So
You're,
right now,
you're looking at
what
this
this
right
really
here.
is part of the airport,
this is all part of the airport right now.
right now.
And it's zoned as P1.
I know.
Mhm.
Yeah, And so part of the thinking, and again, going back to number 3, this may be zoned P1 airport, this portion of it may be zoned commercial 3 entrance or whatever makes
Right.
appropriate for that.
Because right now, then we have that 5 acre or half.
One
acre.
half acre, yeah,
Half acre. That's actually, zone community.
3 north, yeah, and so what we're talking about doing is like, well, I would hope
I thought there
and
was a
think
line
that they would extend that out. So all of that is community 3 north.
Notice that?
The,
Right here
So we're right here.
is our
Really
4.
oh, so you're saying some of this, no, because
No,
the
see,
zoning, this is our 4 here that's adjacent to it.
Mm-hmm.
No, what I'm saying is, here's the highway, okay? See that R4?
Yeah,
Okay, right here, it's right there.
right, I agreed.
are
Are
have-
you?
Some interesting.
This R4 is where these apartments are.
Okay, gotcha.
So is this R4, or is this the C3 North that's in the middle of it? And I think both of those accommodate. And then to
And
the,
how odd,
no,
actually.
because this is down below the hill. You have to remember there's a slope
Think
there
it's
too.
like, it's
Okay.
kind of like marshy and like
Yep.
Yeah,
on the hill.
it's very marshy, yeah.
Yep.
So,
Springy.
and then this kind of fits into
Very
the
springy.
airport discussion as well. To basically say, this is what, when we get the interlocal in place, this is the part that we have charged them with being part and responsible for. It gets rid of this part over here.
Right,
It gets rid of all this stuff. It basically follows the road because that's, what's not shown on here is we need to do all the easements because like the road, there's a 60-foot easement from the center of the road, so 30 foot on either direction. And so that kind of, there's a couple of spots where that's quite close.
yeah.
So, but what we would do is we would, worst case, if you move the apron to the other side, but again, and Mike has said, we'll work to this side if necessary, but the other thing that's on here is these trails.
Yeah.
So we want to mark all those trails as an easement. So the, part of the previous efforts from, part of the previous efforts, when they were following fence lines and stuff, but the problem is those fences have literally, some of those fences have moved in the last year.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is protect these easements. These trails will always be here, they will be here, this will be here, but we go to a real established physical layer to say, guys, there it is. You know, that's, I mean, I'm not saying the road's never gonna move, because it moved from here to there.
Sure did.
But that's once, and that was a really big deal, and it wasn't something that happened in the middle of the night, and fences move in the middle of the night sometimes. You guys are both realtors, you understand that concept.
Oh, yeah.
So this is kind of the stuff that would be, we're looking to have governed in the interlocal.
And you want this because we're gonna do away with that, so you want this piece.
This is the piece that we think there's now a higher and better use of than having it be
All
constrained
the way
within the
over to
airport.
here.
So just completely,
So,
well, so interestingly, yeah, it's all of this. Now, interestingly enough, this triangle piece right here
right.
is the piece that he wants to swap with.
Yep.
That's the piece that the discussion is for.
Oh, I
Now,
thought
this
it was further
has
down.
mains
that was
underneath
his other
that.
piece that he wants, so he owns another section
Over down
over
there.
that way.
Yeah.
So basically, right, gosh, where is it? Right here off of Eighth?
No, it's, I don't think it's right here.
Okay, off Eighth, yeah. So where this trail comes across the road, he has this section here, and he originally wanted to swap this
That's what I thought.
for that chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, he wasn't aware that we already had a conversation going on for Brewery Hill. And so it came with, Brewery Hill comes with a couple $1 million to build it, and it's where everybody goes already.
Yeah.
And so that was for Plan A. And then the conversation was, if you're interested in trading this, because he also wanted this, and he wanted
Yep.
kind of an either or, this is closer in value to this. And so that, to me,
That to me
Yeah.
seems more,
that has utilities underneath
Same
it too,
stuff.
yeah.
And the
And-
real thing is it's just protecting his view here, and he's tired of looking at gravel pits.
Yep.
I mean, there's that, yeah.
And in fairness, we have some developers that have told us this is not a big deal, they could just build all the way around it.
Right.
But having said that, from a zoning,
a big chunk than a,
yeah,
Yeah, easier to design.
That's what I was
without the-
under-
yeah,
I knew
and then
about
you
that
have
one.
setbacks, and it just becomes a nightmare. And again, when this is just being used for gravel storage,
This
Why
to me
does
makes a difference.
Any idea why he wants that?
Because right now, that's where we put our pea gravel for when they were doing roads up on the West Bench and stuff.
But he just doesn't like that.
That's correct.
Pretty much,
And
yeah,
that's
and
the
he,
only reason?
so he
Yep.
owns
And he can't, there's
there?
utilities underneath it, so he
Yeah.
can't build on it.
big utility
Thank
lines.
you, that's what
Yeah,
I-
no,
Yeah.
you've got
That's what
water
I was
mains and sewer
asking.
mains that are there
Yeah.
and he is aware of that.
Good, 'cause
That's,
he can't skyline, he can't
No.
build there.
no,
And he has no
no.
intention to, he wants to landscape it and make it a more attractive entrance for this house. That is what it is.
That's his big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon?
Make it more attractive, but he's got all.
No,
Yeah,
no,
the
this,
quality
well,
apartment.
and that's what this is
This
the
has a
same
big
sort of a
fence
thing
right
right here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There's a big fence right there.
No,
I'd
no
have
doubt.
one. More so, because these guys are probably being naughtier than these guys, honestly, but.
Anyway,
I get to hear them on my side of the
Okay.
house. But yeah, no, on a whole, I think that this looks good. Is there a reason why, I mean, I suppose because this is takeoff zones, all of that, but,
That's actually, the takeoff zones actually extend beyond this.
mhm. They're
So
all
I'm
over.
So
curious-
that, we have zoning stuff there.
why don't we put the boundary around our trails to where then we don't have to do easements? So it seems like
The-
for
the-
setting lines and,
The reason I do that is, again, fences and roads versus, I'm looking for the most solid landmark that's
Solid.
there.
sure, no, that
And
checks. Okay.
And the fact that it's already there, so my goal was keep it with the wide open, because
Mhm.
I
Obvious
I have listened
landmarks,
to the
yep.
discussion about trails, I have listened to discussion about fence lines, and the answer is, you know what, all of these
Go
go
with roads.
away
Yep.
if we say roads and we draw out all those other things you want to protect and include it in the
Okay.
I am
definition.
very content with that,
Uh-huh.
so just wanted to make sure I voiced it, that's all. So-
Noted.
No, so,
Makes more
so,
sense.
and like I said, we've got the trails, including this little one here,
Mhm.
but see, this spot over here could be parking, could be hangar
Right.
expansion.
Right.
I know in their previous conversation, they talked about parking, but the reality is, that's hangar expansion stuff. There's also things, like one of the interesting things that has come up is, we've got the Ren Fair coming
Mhm.
up.
Right.
Can they have additional parking there? And so, and the airport has said, yeah, that's not a non-compatible use.
Yeah.
We've got a guy who wants to put
Isn't that what
Carnival
Mike
up on the 4th of July in the proximity.
Mhm.
If this works for him, that's because we had looked over here, and the problem is, well, if you can guarantee that there's not going to be a fire that breaks out anywhere that time,
Right.
but we can't do it because, this has got those helicopter circles that
That's right.
they've told us how far apart they want them and stuff's
Mhm.
braced there. But this over here is like, yeah, you could put up your whirly pukey guts machine and you could also, and down here because it doesn't impact that.
Huh. Yeah.
Now, this over here is actually city land too, but that's the water tower. But again, in keeping with the road, it's like, guys, there's a road. You're never gonna do anything there. If you want zoning and stuff around there to protect it, then do it with zoning. Everything within here, we're gonna say you get input on. And I'm curious what that wording looks like. So how do we say you get to consult as to compatible use or no? But how do we protect that where future councils don't say, it's not a compatible use to put a 500-story high-rise right there? Or mayor, or
Compatible is not
that's,
strong enough.
pardon?
Compatible use isn't strong
Well,
enough.
or advise is maybe the part that's not strong enough. And that's part of the dilemma of this interlocal agreement. How do we get them content? How do we protect the city's interests?
I mean, I think the way that you say that is that there are definitions of what is allowed in here. And again, compatible isn't necessarily the word I would use, this is definitions of what's allowed in here,
Yeah,
agreed upon by the
permissible,
airport and the city,
City.
So if you say agreed upon, that means they have a right to refusal.
right?
Okay. So
that's
it
why we make
requires.
that a very long
So,
list.
so it's a joint agreement of, and here's the pre-approved list of things.
Mhm.
Because I will tell you,
What
going
if
to a
it's
lot
for
of sorts of
what if it's
airports.
to the benefit of the public?
So yes, so like I said, what if this is light industrial around this edge in this corner? So they build this in here, so they move this stuff in a little bit, but here you have, like this is privately owned here, but what if there's a bunch of light industrial business over here because Pepsi Park gets full?
Mhm. Sorry.
By the way, the other thing is, that's in there, hangars, it would have been that way in the FAA. My understanding is it's that way now. Interestingly enough, they didn't understand that, so, but any leases for this go to the airport for the upkeep and maintenance of this. But if we lease this out for businesses, those leases are not aviation-based, those leases come to the
They
city.
come to the city.
And so that's part of, again, that zoning, what's the potential use on this
And
side?
same with any revenue that might be done for the beneficial.
of the
Yeah,
city.
yeah, if
The public.
we lease this out for the Ren Fair and charge $100 a day, that comes to the city, not to the airport.
Perfect.
Now, had this been accepted into the AIP program, they would not have allowed it. The Fed would have said it forced it to stay inside.
Okay.
But we don't have that anymore. So now we get to say what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. To me, the aviation stuff that they're paying, yeah, use that for maintaining their facilities, their infrastructure.
Mhm.
But anything that is not aviation related, it's the city's, not for the airport.
Did
Agreed.
they agree to that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh, okay, great. Perfect, so,
Easy.
So is
We gotta put it in writing, but that's the conversation and they have agreed to that.
this basically the new,
This is what I would like to propose.
Okay.
This is, Brian roughed this out. This is what I'd like to propose that council approves and moves forward with. And
for
this,
the airport?
I know
I like
that
it.
everybody's gonna sign off and agree to.
That makes me happy.
That's what I'm going for, is everybody's
I'm-
gonna agree to it.
Yeah, I'm a little more comfortable with that, yeah.
Yeah, I like that, Matt. Like, that to me makes sense. I like that there's hard landmarks. I
roads.
like that there's also all of this for city. I like the fact that, no, this is.
For county, you mean?
That's
Sorry,
county.
yes.
But this is used by the city, this,
this
if
is
the
used-
zoning comes out and tells us they can use it. I like your word about, development can be by joint agreement for the city's benefit without risking compatible use. That's the tricky wording that we've gotta get to.
Yeah.
Wording is crucial.
It is. The whole, the goal of this is we can't have something that's blown up by somebody having a bad day.
Yep. Good contracts make good neighbors.
There we go.
Firm believer of that. No, this looks good to me, and I like the idea of, again, we could even do like a dashed section of,
Yeah, we can put potential development or parental use for,
Yep.
this could be used for city rental or lease for compatible purposes, defined as, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Do you have a pen on you? Well, actually, so, yeah, it'd have to be it's gotta be a black felt tip, that's all
Would
right.
you like Sharpie? What color would you
This
like?
is a good one.
Yeah, no, Sharpie is better. Now, part of this conversation is gonna come out of the airport.
So compatible use to benefit the community.
Without being, without being of, yeah, without being a
Without being-
non-compatible use for the airport.
Without airport related, without being related to
aviation.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be related to the aviation, it does have to be a compatible use. Blocks. So, dollars go to city,
Mhm.
airport board / city both agree, which basically means, pre-approved list of compatible uses, which basically takes away their ability,
Compatible.
compatible uses.
Here's the problem, there's always gonna be something that isn't on the list.
So then we go to them and they say, yep, that's a compatible, so go to the
That's one
city.
thing I was gonna recommend, is both parties can agree to include additional items.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can,
But basically, they can't veto something if it is on the list.
Yeah.
That's more
So there we go,
Right.
can't veto,
what's already there.
both by mutual agreement allowed,
Yep.
allowed by mutual agreement.
Mhm.
And then one thing I would say is make sure that that's reviewed every
Oh,
2 years,
yeah.
5 years.
I'm sure things will come up.
Yeah, they'll definitely come up, but again, gives you
View
the opportunity to.
periodically,
Mhm.
Yep, gives you the opportunity and the force of the hand to put it on the schedule, be like, instead of saying, oh yeah, we need to add that, like it actually becomes a
Mhm.
calendar item.
Right.
So while we're on that, and we've got this out in front of me, I believe you guys are already all aware that we did not get accepted into the federal AIP program.
Yep.
The reason they gave us in writing was, we can't tell you to shorten your runway 300 feet in the name of safety. Behind the scenes, it was a funding issue. Now,
Mhm.
having said that, because they're obligated to, once they take you on, they're obligated to do that going forward and forward and forward.
Mhm.
Now, having said that, we have $400,000 that has been donated for the runway.
Correct.
We just got approved through the AIP program, I might add, but not federal AIP. The federal AIP that they give to the state,
Yep.
$378,000 to pave everything else. So
Oh.
next year, 100% of everything is getting re-blacked.
Oh, that's
Fabulous.
really nice.
Yeah.
So it is a state AIP program.
It's AIP administered by the state.
Administered by
Right.
the state. 'Cause the state
And
gets it.
basically, we got 98% of what we asked for.
I was gonna say, that's
And
incredible.
part of it is when we went to them and asked for money before, their answer was, why didn't you go to the Fed first? Go to the Fed first. So this presentation shut out, we went to the Fed, they said, no, now we're back here. Okay, here's your money.
Okay, I guess.
Out of
Go to
curiosity,
point A.
Mom and
before
Dad.
they went back to,
See if Dad's got
that one,
Got more money
we were in AIP airport,
We were in AIP many years ago.
and then when Red Lodge Country Club Estates was approved, they yanked us out of the AIP program.
I don't know the
That's the story I've been
conversation.
hearing.
There's a couple of different variations, so I've got all of those documentation, and you guys are, anybody, if you wanna
That's what
look
it
at it,
said.
you're welcome to look at it. And I've got it on a thumb drive, and I'd love to give it to a
And that's
couple of
how
you
we
to go
lost
through and
it.
look at it.
But they
That's how we
said
lost
that's how we lost the AIP program.
Okay.
Well, I think what
And
they,
said we'd never, ever get it back again.
and, well, what they said, and that was, are you talking about late nineties?
Yeah.
So that was the discussion of moving it to someplace else, which
And that was-
started and got shut down.
Yeah,
And that
Yeah.
we
was when
started that discussion.
over on the benches, over on these benches, like
Yeah.
it turned into a whole debacle.
Yeah,
Like, it
and,
was-
and I haven't seen the writing of that, but apparently they've zoned it so it can't happen there, they've zoned it so it can't happen here. The other thing that's interesting about AIP, so the AIP is actually a program that's designed to support what's called NIPIUS, which is basically an emergency grid of every 30 miles, you got someplace to land if your engine,
Oh, I
if
like
your,
that.
if your oil blows out.
Yeah.
So Bridger is not a NIPIUS airport. Columbus is a NIPIUS airport. Cody is a NIPIUS airport. Red Lodge plays a pretty important part between Cody and NIPIUS, that gives them, and Columbus, so that's the spot to add. So one of the things is, as we start looking at moving it, there comes a certain distance out that we move it,
That's
where
no
they
longer-
say,
You're
you're no
no
longer
longer-
eligible for it because of the spot of where it is.
The 30 miles.
Yeah,
So if we
So-
ended up by Roscoe, it'd be worthless.
yeah, if we ended up, so there's other spots, there's one out by, so, but yeah, now, actually, if we go that way and we found someplace that was suitable, both neighbors friendly but again, everybody's fine with everything so long as it's not in their backyard.
That's the
Sure.
real problem. So you have to find a big old ranch that we can't afford.
Right, unless it's
Yeah.
Clark.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the airport update since we're here in the picture and stuff, is we got 378,000 to
Nice.
stack on top of the 400,000 we already have.
That's
It's
awesome.
really, really, really good.
Cool. And then in terms of the interlocal agreement, what's the,
It's on me. This conversation is helpful for
Yeah.
me. I just need to sit down and write it.
Okay.
That's one of 3 things on my needs done yesterday list. The other 2 being the job description for the deputy administrative officer. I have part of that job description written, which is, we don't get a city manager,
Okay.
and our charter says that the mayor shall be the chief administrative officer, but he's allowed to hire an assistant,
Ah.
which is the deputy administrative
Deputy.
officer.
I don't hate
I can give you guys some high level, this is kind of more of an admin thing, but just kind of from a council.
Okay.
Some of the stuff that I've been writing on, and you guys have seen, by the way, there is a meeting in here at 5:30, so we'll be done at 5:20 in here.
Okay.
I just got a,
who's the 5:30? Which board is it?
urban
Mm,
going until 5:20.
okay.
What I was gonna do is go in here and just kind of share with you guys, if I go deputy, I'll bet I can find it. So deputy administrative assistant, implement the mayor's agenda and working with the mayor oversees the day-to-day operations of the city, identify gaps in staffing and skills, and make recommendations on how to best fill and address, I'm gonna add, within budget constraints. So an example where you guys have seen that happening is the fact that we have WWC as a planner for us. East Helena is also applying to WWC,
Oh,
They're a little smaller than we are. They're like 1,800 versus 2,300. They represent 10% of WWC's load. So back of the envelope, that's 4 hours a week.
so they have,
So that's 100% of their planning is done in 4 to 5, 6 hours a week. So explain to me where the city's budget is best used with a full-time planner and a full-time planning assistant. And then look at what we've done, all the things that we've given to our planner instead to have them do that. So instead, it's, I want somebody who can manage a city, and they've got a planning administrator that they can, the stuff that needs to be done by an official, they do by somebody who's out there and current and up to everything. And all the feedback from the planning board has been, this is a higher level of professionalism, and their staff reports and stuff have been there.
okay.
Well, it also,
Some evening meetings required. Previous municipal experience is a must. Previous experience in one or more of the following areas required: community development or related field, public works, city planning, municipal finance, municipal grant writing. So basically, it's kind of like,
good.
your job is to come run the city when the mayor's not here.
Anything I tell you to do.
It is, that's
Yeah.
exactly, and other duties as
And make
assigned
sure that
for. And
stuff is getting done.
provide that consistency
From mayor to mayor
from
to city
administration to
council,
administration to administration.
because we go through that all the time.
So it's a little bit, Peter Italiano kind of did that a little bit when he was here. That was kind of the first version that I saw where it was kind of in place.
Mhm.
And I've got a couple of potential applicants that I think could be a good fit.
Okay.
I don't know that, one of them used to be the planner for Carbon County and then was the planner for Billings and now is the Public Works Director for Yellowstone County. So I don't know that we're gonna get her anymore, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna float it across her desk because she also said she wanted to end up in Red Lodge.
Yeah, which means you have to take a cut and pay, get over it.
Yeah, and it kind of, and then
Trying to take
there's
higher
some,
elevation.
there's some realities of that too, because we have some limitations of what this position are budget-wise. But I said, I've literally spent a year going, what is it that this
What do
position
we
does?
really, really
And
need?
so what I've done is, okay, here's the skill set, and so one of the things I did differently with Brian is, the previous administration had gone to Brian and Courtney and said, will you guys be my planner?
Yeah.
And one of the responses, well, he's not a planner, I'm not a planner, two not a planners does not equal a planner.
Nope.
And so what we did, I said, okay, I'll get you a planner. You do the front desk planning is what they call it, and then you've got the expert resources available for whatever you need.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like, okay, so that's where I came up with this. This job is to say, here's where our gaps are. How do we fill it? Because there's a lot of that stuff we can do. So we're also revisiting the attorney. That's going to be going out. We're breaking up the criminal from the city side
Mhm.
and breaking that up because it's a much better use of the city's dollars. We're going to get more bang out of the buck.
So Brian is the community development director.
So technically, in my mind, he's currently the acting, but I've been informed by our HR person that I can't really have an acting if the position isn't defined and advertised. I need to get it defined and advertised, and then like if I had an acting chief of police, there's a position and a pay raise that goes with that. And because I don't have that done yet, I can't be
Okay.
that. So like I said,
Call him.
I'm going
He
to
can
the
do
other
the
thing.
duties.
Pardon?
He can do the work, but can't get the title.
Yeah, so but it's been very helpful because I'm getting to try this on. How do we tweak this? How do we add this?
Yeah.
One of the things that came up is this person supervisory, is this person managing? And so that was kind of the concern there, so.
Right.
All right,
Anyway, so there we go, and there's number 3 gone too.
perfect.
I know,
Uh,
that food.
Food. Okay, so number 4, Pride Park Public Use Policy.
What an interesting example. So our acting, he does land use applications that they come in. Currently, there is nothing special about Pride Park. Any vendor who wants to come in and sign up to rent Pride Park for whatever purpose can.
Is that what it says in the MOU?
It doesn't, it doesn't say anything about we shall. The only thing in the MOU is if they need it, they don't have to request it, they just have to notify us of the date.
It says that they will set the schedule and program the sprinkler system. Maintain mowers, coordinate maintenance, maintain, notify the city of club-related fundraising. Requests not affiliated with the garden club in the park shall be forwarded to the Community Development Department.
Okay, so what's our basis for saying no? So that, basically, if it's not having to do with the park, they send it to us, they send it to us, and, we handle it currently just as we do every other park. I would put forth that if so for instance, is it available for we have another meeting until 5:20, and then we'll finish up for you guys at 5:30.
Just sit and enjoy, it's delightful.
So specifically, the question is, A, we're not gonna make it available to anybody.
Mhm.
B, we're not gonna make it available for commercial uses, so the store next to it can't use it.
Mhm.
What about an art walk? What if they wanna set art out there? Now, what we have done to this point is we've said as we let it out, it can't interfere with the seating. It can't, there's been a couple of things that we felt comfortable applying as restrictions. But the request is, if this is, if it's, what is the desire of council? You guys are responsible for city land and its
Correct.
use. Do we want to preserve that? And how do you do it so that we can do it the same way tomorrow for the request that comes in a week from now and the request that comes in 3 weeks from now that we haven't even thought of yet? It has to be handled consistently and the same way every time.
So,
And I've heard people say in council, they're kind of like, well, no, we don't want to let that out. Okay, so do you just want to say no, or what are the parameters or
Well,
guidelines?
yeah, and you can't just say no for the sake of saying no. Like,
Yeah.
we have
You
to-
can actually.
Can I?
You can, it's
I
actually in
can.
our.
I don't like you. No.
No.
Not that.
No, you have to be consistent. So if you can say Pride Park is a place for people to sit down, we will never let anybody use it. Council can
Right.
absolutely do that. We will allow people to use it so long as they don't do the seating and it's not for commercial purposes.
but I think that even when they used it for the commercial purpose, there was still seating available.
There was after the first time. That was
Yeah.
the lesson we learned. And so when the permit was granted the second time, because we
Mhm.
didn't feel we could say no, we did say, but you're not allowed to interfere with seating.
So we need to,
And by the way, the other way that I got rid of it
Mhm.
last time is 4th of July, Labor Day, et cetera, the
Mhm.
city reserved it first.
See, and
That was my workaround.
So that was the conversation that we had was when we, because this has come up before, I believe in admin and, was it in admin? Or was it public works?
It may have been Public Works. 'Cause
Might
I
have been
remember.
public works.
Well,
I
sure sounds
remember.
like land use to me, but okay.
Yeah, no,
Or
that's,
maybe it was that.
I don't think it was land use.
I don't know. I
But
remember having
anyway,
a conversation.
Regardless, so part of the conversation was, it was specifically to do with the applications. So I think it was admin.
Okay,
And with those applications, Pride Park did come up. And
okay.
part of that was do we want to give for events that are going to be taking up Main Street, do we want to give them priority to this park and have it like already sectioned off? For Lions Park, do we want to have it already blocked off for Fun Run? For, Pride Park, do we want to have it blocked off for 4th of July? Those
Mhm.
types of things. And we tried to put it on to Brian, like, use your best judgment and block these off accordingly when you know that there are these big reoccurring events. And we
that's-
put it
that's
at the
what I did
discretion
last year
of the
is
city and the
That's
staff.
what I did last year was I put in reservations so that didn't turn into retail space.
Right.
Yeah.
And frankly, I still think that's the way to do it, but one of the things that we had said was it was at the discretion of city staff.
So if I let my inner Peter come out, Peter would say, you can't do that. You have to tell me what the guidelines are.
And that's what
You have
I
to
had
say if
recommended,
it's in
and
the line,
then,
you're gonna do it. If it's not, you're not gonna do it.
okay, I'm fine with making criteria. I'm
Right.
all about guidelines. That's fine with me. So,
So what we.
What we-
I would-
so-
I would say we want to provide the guidelines by which staff applies the
Okay.
guidelines, not just make the.
Don't make guidelines, just,
Yes,
how-
because how does that keep us consistent year to year, administration to administration?
so
et cetera,
basically
et
a
cetera?
rubric for guidelines.
I think having the city, reserve the park for downtown events makes a lot of sense. I mean, we
Yeah.
also have we have the kids with the music thing coming up, and they always use that
See,
park.
now you're, I'm supposed to guess which ones are big enough and important enough to do
Put that on
that.
the calendar.
Like at the Ren Fair, do I put that on the calendar so that it doesn't get reserved?
Well, I'm thinking more that they're downtown events. I mean, because that would include, the 4th of July, that would include the car show. If we go back to Summerfest, And that would include that, any of those downtown ones. I mean, Ren Fair they're not gonna be downtown.
You could use that as your wording. You could say it will not be available on any time there's a downtown.
Anytime there's a road blockage, honestly. Like, I think about whenever there's a street closure on downtown, if it's big enough that it requires a street closure, that generally means people are walking Main Street. And even if it's not 212, but even the side streets. So again, you think about the car show, one, you do have a parking closure for a downtown.
But not for the music festival that she just mentioned.
Not for the music festival that she just mentioned, but at the same time, those kids can also generally find somewhere else to sit. Or we bring it out to the music festival, like, do you want to block this? Where you, like, you have thoughts, it's okay,
I'm
say
just
'em.
like, she's trying to get them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, so, yes, with the street blockage, but also, I don't know, I'm more back to, like, commercial use, like, people setting up, like you said, the art fair, or
Right.
using it for something like that.
Except that the garden club can use it for commercial use if they wanna sell their,
Yeah, their
Your
garden,
fundraising, that's
stuff.
in their MOU.
that's
But that's-
fundraising,
that's
that's
in an
not
MO.
commercial use,
Right,
right?
exactly, that's your difference.
The-
You have a
So are you
nonprofit.
proposing that we change the MOU?
No, I'm thinking more of a policy guideline that we give to staff that they have to hang their hat on when they say, I'm sorry, you can't rent Pride Park for that purpose.
these are not the guidelines in which,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, no commercial use, number one. If there's a street closure, whether it's a side street or the main drag, then we can't, it has to be blocked off for.
Are you writing this down?
Uh-huh, I already wrote it all down.
she's reading it.
I just don't have it really good, terms,
Yeah,
but I've
gotta
got
think
no
through.
commercial
Sometimes we can't.
use.
Somebody asked me the other day if I'd sign my signature with my left hand. It was well played. It was-
Yeah, but street closures, and we just need a policy, for staff.
Again, something that can be applied consistently for the events we can think of and for the events we can't think of that are gonna show up a month from now and we go, ooh, which stack does that fall into?
Yeah, so,
So you're saying it would have to be applied to all city parks?
No, just Pride Park.
It can be specific. I think Pride Park is a specific
because it's on Main.
thing. Now,
The only one.
is it conceivable that council may come up and say, we want to have some other things for this park or that park? Absolutely. But this specific comment has to do with Pride
Pride
Park.
Park.
And does council have a desire to constrain that be differently than what every other park in town is?
Right. Different from Lions. It's different from Rotary.
That being said, a little vendor fair at Rotary would be super fun. No. Right there by the river. No, okay.
Left of it.
So I think that this would be good to bring out to the next agenda, because we are at 5:13.
Mhm.
So we'll put that on our agenda as one of the top items,
Yes,
put that into our
Yeah,
reviewing
still
of
with you
priorities.
guys.
yep,
And essentially, review what the MOU currently says, and we should also review the application, so we know what those restrictions already are. And then from there, if there's additional criteria specifically for Pride Park that we'd like to see administered. In the meantime, in the next 2 weeks, let's chat with folks. I mean, I think it'd be smart to talk to the folks that have used it for commercial use in the past.
I'm
See
trying to
what
think
that
who-
benefit is.
That's the only one who has,
who-
Is it?
is the Mountain Store.
The Mountain Store.
Can we confirm that? I just want to be sure.
I-
I don't
I'm
know
not
for
even
sure.
sure
I'm
the
trying to
art,
think
One that
back.
we have given,
Permission.
land use, that since I've been here anyway.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I can think of, but.
The other thing to think about is if you go back 5 or 10, probably more likely 4 or 8, or 12 or 16 years, think about some of the political or religious or other things.
Generally the place that
that
takes
can-
the hub.
That
Mhm.
have taken place there.
And honestly, it's been
Um,
happening within the last year.
Mhm. Yeah, and then what about, like, I know the
The Oompa Band.
Oompa, yeah, I think.
Love the Oompa Band.
I can't think what they're called, but yeah.
I can't
the-
pronounce what they're called.
Yeah, the German guys playing.
It has a
But,
lot of syllables in it,
Uh-huh.
with a lot more consonants and vowels, yeah.
Their
Mhm.
logo is very tricky.
But it's not commercial.
Right,
No,
and
but
they,
again, just considering the user groups that have been utilizing it and what this impact might be on those guys currently.
correct.
And then, again, brainstorming, what are the other potential uses
Girl
that might
Scout
come?
cookies?
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
I'm not gonna be mad if there's Girl Scout cookies there.
That's fundraising,
Okay,
not commercial.
there we go. I'm just saying, I'm thinking of food, and that was the one that came up.
Tag along.
Mhm.
All day.
I mean,
I feel like you guys are grasping the ask, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, we're grasping there.
mhm.
So we'll review the application and make sure that,
Yeah, again, we'll look at what our current application is, because that just got finalized this summer. And that, was it this summer, this fall, one of the two? And then also looking at what has been used there and just thinking what makes the most sense for the community. 'Cause again, I like it for seating during the busy times,
I do too.
but it's also kind of cool to see stuff happening there too. Like,
Right, but I don't feel like someone should just be able to capitalize on our events, like,
on our space.
on our,
On our park.
right, on our
It's a
park
park.
during events like that. Like, that's where I'm at.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, the farmer's market is a commercial use, but it's for the community benefit.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And again, I don't necessarily see that taking up Main Street
But that's not on
attention.
Main
It honestly kind of pulls Main Street further, which I
Around.
like.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, when you have it downtown, there's plenty of already happening, it's taking away from, well, it's not really taking away from all the businesses, considering one is just basically expanding out. So yeah, I think it'll be good to just kind of pick our brains on and like think about it a little
But see, after
bit.
they did that, I think that other people are thinking, oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Right, like, I can now take.
Yeah, but I mean, I could like think of, what if there was a caricature artist, like, that does the paintings and that kind of stuff, like fun things that community would enjoy?
Would that take up the seating?
It'd probably
They'd have
take
to
up
have a
one
business
table.
Permit, and they'd have to, and by the way, we've seen that, but they were doing it from their car on Broadway so we've had some stuff like that, actually.
Hmm.
From their car on Broadway?
Get in here, I'll take a picture of you.
They didn't-
On that note.
They didn't have a business
That kind of
permit, there were
scares me a
certain
little.
Right?
things that happened to get them shut down, so.
There's no windows in the van?
There used to be a guy in my hometown that would play spoons and sell paintings. And like, just out of the back of his car, he'd just sit there on the, like, pump his trunk, have a bunch of paintings and just play spoons. He was great.
Explains everything.
Right?
I'm
Like
gonna also
$5.
double check chapter 8,
All right,
use
so
of
before-
city-owned land, property.
Yeah. And again, I think a lot of that's actually detailed in the application too, so that's helpful.
And it might be that chapter 8 is the spot to modify it too.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so Pride Park use, they have a plan moving forward, have it on the agenda for next time, have some things to review. And then, okay, so growth policy review, so that will be a conversation on Wednesday with planning board, 30 pages in, 29 pages in reviews and edits. I have been
103 left. Yeah.
Yeah, only 80 to go, or 85 to go.
Yeah, and I
Um,
don't think that this committee should review it until it comes out of planning board.
So mostly, again, the reason I keep this on the agenda, and I want to continue to keep it on the agenda, is just to get an update of where it's at. So specifically, they're this deep in, they've reviewed these items as of now. And
Yeah.
I think it's just good to.
An update where,
Yeah, so that way
where
we
they
can-
stand.
Yeah, they got 30 pages out of 103.
Okay, so there we go, we're there. Next meeting, we'll see where they're at,
Yep.
see if they've
Well,
gotten any further.
The other 73 pages are a lot of, maps.
Yeah, there's a
and
lot of pictures.
things.
Yeah.
I like
maps and pictures and things that.
Diagrams
that aren't
and-
necessarily from us, but they pulled in off the internet,
Infographics,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
that
Yep.
type of thing. So
Okay.
it's not as bad as it seems,
Yeah,
exactly.
and honestly, yeah, with there being as many tables as there are, and it's not like you're reading a novel, so.
No.
And the intent is to get it done tomorrow night
Oh,
and
wow.
then start the public review.
Oh, wow, all right, that's,
Yeah, so again, this is part of the reason I just want to keep it on here, is to have
Mhm.
that just
so,
in our
an
minds that
update.
it is coming, and in pretty short order.
yeah.
In terms of review of priorities, I think that we'll probably put airport just kind of on until it's ready.
Okay.
Um,
Remember the other, and I don't know if
You're at-
everybody,
5:20.
Yeah.
one of the things we've done is if it's on here, people are gonna show up to the meeting, so there's a separate list
Yep.
that is priorities
Yep.
and things that are on there, so there
that's,
may be
that's
things,
what I'm saying.
so what I heard is, hey, we'd like to have that on to here. And like I said, we've got 20 pages, we have to condense down to not 20 pages for the growth policy.
Right. So essentially, what I'm saying is we're gonna be taking it off of the agenda until further notice.
Okay.
Until we actually have interlocal and those types of things to be reviewing.
So we don't confuse people.
Correct. And don't just have it sitting
Myself.
there.
Are you-
And then we'll move up the MOU and Pride Park conversation, and then obviously growth policy will probably be right there on the agenda next go around and see where we're at, but it will be a full agenda, or a full meeting discussion, to say the least. Anything else? Okay, I'm gonna adjourn it so these guys can get
Yes.
rolling.
Oh, wait, were you go to the public and see if they had anything?
Oh.
to add?
Angela, do you have anything? I'm sorry, dear.
No, I don't. Just listening in. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You have four other publics here too.
Oh, you are technically public. Anyone have anything to say?
Anything you wanna
Anything to add?
Anything you want to add?
Question? No, not at all. Okay,
We have to
awesome.
be careful of
And
the
are you adjourned again?
Now we're
Now we're
adjourned.
adjourned.